Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
So far, I've done a very good job of scaring you, have I?
No. Now you're making me anxious.
Well, the patrons are sort of to blame in a way, but obviously I instigated what the picks are, of course, for what they're up against. But I want to thank you, the patrons, again for picking out of the two choices. And by quite a landslide, essentially, the overall winner was sort of surprised by, but is the film Ghostwatch.
Well, already, the fact that it says ghost, and I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I know from the other one, what was the other option against the found footage thing was all about ghosts, so it was slightly different. But this, I did
like
in conjunction with
apparently
found footage, but as a bit of both, I suppose, in a way.
I always think of this as like a I don't know, Ghostwatch's Most Haunted or something. Is it something like that? Is that
akin to that? I suppose. Yeah.
Okay.
In a
so
sense.
I can take it with a pinch of salt then, probably, maybe. Because it depends, like, if something like, oh, this candlestick's moving by itself, I don't really think that. I think it's more like seeing something physical, like a ghost, would scare me.
Right.
So that's my level. So if it's going to be like, oh, something's moving, I could be like, yeah, okay. And not really take it that seriously.
Well, it did convince people back in 1992 on Halloween. So, 31 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it's my year.
Yeah.
Date of birth, yeah. So 31 years ago.
Yeah.
So we were more gullible back then, probably.
Because part of the I say, charm with it, or the fact of looking back on it, is because there were genuine broadcasters that people in the BBC saw as, thought they'd be like genuine.
Oh, okay, so it's like a bit like an April Fool's kind of vibe where they're like...
They were so convincing with what they were doing, how they were acting as normal as if they were doing a broadcast.
That people thought it was real.
They genuinely thought that what was real, so there was a lot of distress and worry from it all. And so, yeah, so was it sort of a controversy.
Live on TV? Like, was it live at that time?
Yeah, it was.
That's
the thing, but then it was never, like, talked about again for ages and ages, and then now it's sort of come back around.
I'm interested then. I'm intrigued. I don't know if it's going to scare me. We'll see.
Yeah. You probably recognise some of the people.
Mum voted for this, and she actually said she recognised some of the people in it.
Yeah. So Michael Parkinson is one of the people who's in it, but he passed away earlier this year. In fact, August this year.
Bless him.
So
he looks familiar now. The older version of himself.
I mean, he's always seemed like an old man, if that makes sense.
He kind of reminds me of the guy like Who Wants to Be on a Millionaire.
Chris Tarrant.
Yeah. That kind of man, always old.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And Craig Charles, who's from like Red Dwarf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you might go, oh, yeah, I kind of sort of know who that is, but maybe younger.
But obviously, this was done when people were out in 1992, when I was just like, just being born, and I would have been a month
Yeah, not saying that you would have recognised.
No, come out of the womb.
No. I'm not talking about the fact that, oh yeah, you knew from when you were born that. Oh yeah, I remember that vague memory of, and also you wouldn't have seen anyway. But I mean, like, from going, oh yes, after the fact, you might have seen them on the television.
I'm only winding you. I need to give myself a little bit of laughs and fun while I'm going through Halloween season.
But I think it's very good anyway, and so
we will see.
Yeah, we will. And we'll be back very shortly with Sophie's thoughts on Ghostwatch.
I don't know what to do. Should we go back upstairs and...
Shh.
Upstairs. Children, come on.
No, Sarah, stay where you are, please. Sarah, stay there, please. Don't go upstairs.
Why?
Because we hear that Susanna's got out of bed, but she's not yet
Stay
appeared.
here, I don't know why.
She's not appeared on the landing.
Suzanne, where is she? It could be a piece of its usual misdirection. Just trust me, Sarah. Stay there.
And we are back, having seen Ghostwatch. Was it actually scary this time for you?
It wasn't absolutely petrifying, and I didn't have nightmares.
But there were certain
Certain
elements
parts
to it, yeah.
which made me feel uneasy or jump or be a bit, ugh. Yes.
That's good. Well, yeah, to be fair, it's quite I'd say a slow burn in terms of what it has to offer, but given what it's going for in terms of tone and everything, that, yeah, it's got to build that momentum to get to a point where it feels a bit uneasy and unsettling.
It's mainly the girls that creep me out, to be fair.
Well, you always say, don't you? Like,
yeah.
Anything to do with children being any ghostly apparition stuff is a bit for you, shuddering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what it is. It's like, is it Suzanne and Kim?
Yeah.
They can kind of see pipes. That's what they call the
ghost.
Well, we kind of go. We still really don't truly know what he is. If they think he's a ghost, they think poltergeist, like some form of demon kind of thing. I don't know.
A lot of things thrown around. Yeah.
And you don't really get much to know what actually is it. And I think this is a bit that scares me the most, is especially when Kim or I think it's Susan, says, get off me, and she can feel him touching him, but like somebody's looking at her like, well, there's no one touching you. And he could hurt her, and no one could do anything about that. And I generally do believe that could happen.
That it's in somebody's head, do you mean? Like they're thinking that there's
like something is actually doing that, but no one would believe you.
Because you can't see it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And how can you stop it?
Yeah, there's nothing nobody can do, you mean? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things going on with it, like the apparitions and things that you see and all the other tests that they run.
Yeah, because I'm a genuine believer of there is spirits, there is ghosts, there is something, even if it's a memory. There's clearly something in our world that is like, once you've passed on, there is something else. I don't know what, but I know that there is spirits and there is.
And there's like one of the people that's interviewed in it, one of the spiritualists, and saying about like how houses, inherit things.
I agree. Yeah, it must have some form of trauma. Like if somebody's murdered in a house, I definitely do feel like that way. Like if we were watching this in our old house, which was a terraced house, and it had a cellar, and it had a similar layout to that house,
and it had like the old creaky floorboards, and yeah, it wasn't like a pleasant looking place, was it? It wasn't well kept.
No,
not to say that you didn't do that, but it was a bit of a dive in comparison to what got here.
Yeah, and I think it was just obviously because we were renting it, so the landlord wouldn't want to put much effort into it. And then we got to a point of, well, why are we putting effort in to something we're not benefiting personally from? We're just making the house better for them.
But the atmosphere of that house was a little bit more, I say sinister, but
no, I think 100%.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about it, I do think that, because I used to get scared going like up the stairs.
And you said you'd seen think you saw something at the top of the stairs, or felt like a presence there
all the time.
And then even in the attic, but weirdly I never really felt.
Well, we had that weird little door that's like the glory hole of whatever.
Yeah.
That's in this film.
Yeah.
And we had a cellar, which I've never been down until the last time we left. Yeah. And you went down, and there was chains and this cloth
that was behind it. So yeah, like some torture chambers.
Yeah, and it just make you feel like. And I think we'd only just watched. Was it Parasite? Was it
I don't say at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no, I really can't be doing with anything like that. So I think, luckily for us, this house feels like lots of people have had lovely, wonderful memories here, and I do think that matters. Like if your house has had trauma, just like anything. It's still going to be there, isn't it?
I guess, yeah.
And this is kind of what this film's saying is like,
and also what the people are retelling, like of the area, when they're telling of like almost like ghost stories, campfire stories, or whatever you want to call them, where like incidents that happened within that area, the scary man who lived in that house, or somebody died, or things going on within the area that just were a bit unsettling and stuff. So it's like a bad neighbourhood, essentially.
Yeah, overall, it's just kind of that vibe.
Yeah, vibe.
I think your mum's the same, though, isn't she? She can walk into a room and kind of sense
something, yeah.
Something. And I don't even know how to describe it to you, because obviously for you, you're a bit of a cynic on that. And I think this is why ghost things really do scare me, because I generally believe there is something, whereas for you, you're a bit like, is it
Michael Parkinson?
Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to get the facts and the truths out
And
from it,
I think
thinking it rationally, and just like, oh, this is all like a hoax, and having a bit of a joke about it, kind of thing. But
and I think until you see something, I don't think you'll ever truly fully want to believe it, because I think for you have to physically
experience it.
Yourself, and then you would generally believe it.
Yeah. So obviously, when the history of this film is, or the television broadcast of it at least, and it never got aired again after the fact because it's like one and done thing, so it kind of got swept under the rug. The BBC were sort of in a lot of trouble for the fact of what people generally thought it was real, and then some people didn't at the same time.
Like from back in the day in 1992, 31 years ago, if anyone
there's like before like internet was even really.
Well, yeah, you can see how they were dialing
homes.
in.
Yeah, exactly, on phones and stuff, and television was your source of information other than the newspapers, but you couldn't just go on Google at that point. And
no, you couldn't.
It wasn't even a thing.
I don't even know if dial-up was even...
No. I think it was more for, like, in, like, like scientific laboratories
or
and
like
stuff.
businesses, for example, they've had... the BBC have obviously had some form of technology and such to be able to go back and forth on cameras.
No way would you have computers in homes at that point.
No.
It wouldn't have been a commercial
thing. Remember seeing the TV when Sarah's at Fox Hill Drive, and the way that like those little tellies have been placed together.
Yeah.
And now like that would just be one big screen and it wouldn't even faze anybody.
Or it'd be like seamless without the borders. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Get those. Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of like the technology of that, it's.
I can understand why they would be shocked about it, and people would generally think, yes, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd be, probably if I was not 0 or 1 at the time, I would have generally believed that it was true.
Because obviously, for that time, the television, is something that you trusted the news, essentially. Like, that's what you based.
Or you'd read it in a newspaper.
For that. So, why would they pull a fast one on you, really, in this instance?
And it's not like it's April Fool's or anything like that.
It's more like a Halloween prank, essentially.
Yeah. I quite like it that they've done it, actually. They would never do it today because they're so strict now.
Well, not only that, it's obviously maybe leaked on the internet prior to that, or something would come out for something like that. There's no way you would be able to cover up the same way. Like, is this, Google it, is this real, or whatever.
True.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or it would be some evidence that they'd found or something. Would like you'd Google Fox Hill Drive and then it'd be like, oh no, this is it's not even a place or something, and then you'd know it's not real.
Yeah, but they did have like 30,000 phone calls from viewers. I know, obviously the kids saying that they've been traumatised, and
I can imagine it is scary, and it was believable because it were presenters that they knew at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was just a random bunch of people. It were people who you saw on TV and you trusted. Yeah,
so that adds to the believability. But do you think at any point, like any of their acting, because obviously they are acting it out in it essentially from a script, given some thing, obviously maybe ad lib some things, like and things, if they like forget the lines, is not so problematic because that makes it a bit more genuine. Because
and it looks like they're live and they've
like the mother.
I think the mother, I was going to say the actual presenters, you can't fault them.
Because that's their job.
They're on TV all the time.
Yeah.
Not saying they act, but they're just presenting and doing a role of what they would do day to day. So I feel like they delivered it quite well.
Yeah.
Even Sarah, for example, I think she did really well in the house of acting scared, and because obviously that's not something in your day to day job you need to be acting.
No.
So she did really pull that off. But yeah, I think the mum, but then she was quite poker facey. She was very expressionless. Is that a word?
No emotion.
Yeah.
On her face, really. But most of the time, other than sort of like in a voice, really. But yeah, she didn't really like raise her eyebrows too much or anything like that.
But then I think the girls were a bit creepy that way because they were scared, but like the way that they looked at you sometimes, I don't know if it was just like the way that they were acting to make it you feel a bit uneasy.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know halfway through who to really believe at this point, did you?
No, not really. Because they made it sound like one of the girls was the one who was being, let's say possessed, but it was more the other girl who was, being brought into it all. It was actually more about her.
So I don't know, because like Susan she's a teen.
Yeah.
And they did bring this other guy on who was a bit of a skeptic and was like, oh no, she's just a cry for help. She's just a teenager, attention seeking and all of that. And then you do get her banging on the
pipes.
On the pipes and kind of this weird sinister thing. And you think, well, is she being possessed at that point? Is Pipes making her do that?
To throw you off the scent.
Yeah, because then she's acting like I didn't know I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it actually her?
Well, that's what was it? Dr. Lynn, who's saying about it. Like, she's like the expert in all this kind of like psychology of it all and the research into it. So she's there along with Parkinson in the newsroom about like going against, like, back and forth with him about, there's studies that you can do to prove that this, I've seen these things happen, like the scratches on the face appearing in front of her eyes. Obviously, there's no like footage of that to actually show that.
Yeah.
Because when it does happen later on, it's just off camera. So.
And also, I don't know really how nowadays you could probably do that.
Yeah, it'd be special effects, but
back then, I don't think they would really have had that.
Aside from very quick cut, but even then, I don't even think that would have been working. Like, the camera moves around and like, oh, we've got someone obstructs the view, and then move away, and then they're there.
Yeah, but actually seeing nowadays, we could see that actually appearing on her face, and we'd have no problem seeing it. Yeah. But makes you think, oh, well, is she self-harming? Is she just scratching and all of that? But I feel like for her, it's not the case. I think it is genuinely Pipes is in control a little bit, and he's the one taking over. And there's a scene later, further along, when he is possessing her, obviously, because her voice changes. Oh God, that creeps me out. Like that, the thought like of something taking over your body. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't drink alcohol, because I just don't like being out of control. Like, I won't get...
Yeah, but your voice doesn't become demonic when you have a drink.
I think it's just the thought of me not being fully aware of what I'm doing that I don't like, because I'm such a control freak.
Yeah.
That the thought of something controlling me and I have no control over myself, I just freaks the living crap out of me. But yeah. Kim, though, she's the little girl and she's really cute, but oh God, I think this is a bit where my sister used to do this, apparently. She'd be talking away, yabba, 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 yabba. Mum would come in and go, who are you talking to, Sarah? I was talking to Granddaddy's on the wall. I'm thinking, so Mum used to tell me that she did this, and I'd be like, oh my God, like if we ever had a child and I swear to God they said they're talking to whoever, I'd be like, well, you can stop.
I don't think it's quite as simple as that.
And I think that's what this bit is with Kim in this storyline, where she's like, no, Pipes wants to talk to me, and
he wants you to see all this and all that kind of stuff. And
that, it unsettles me, especially because she's so young.
Yeah, you kind of get that. It's almost like a trope in the sense of, in other films where that occurs, that a kid is like, oh, it's my imaginary friend and stuff, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, like we watched Offscreen, didn't we? And we haven't done a podcast on it.
Oh, Amityville Horror.
Yeah,
yeah,
and she's saying about her friend. Is it Annabelle or something? I don't know.
No, that's from a different
some film. Yeah. Her friend doesn't like that, and oh, Paul, I swear to God, like, I would be crying if my child ever said that. I don't think I could handle him having an imaginary friend, because I always think they are real.
Did you not ever have one?
No. Did you?
No, I didn't. I'm just saying. You're thinking there's somewhat ghostly if they are imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Just I feel like those things are more like a coping mechanism. Say that from some other trauma or something. Think of like Danny,
maybe
from The Shining.
What's The Shining? I've not seen that film before. Is it any good?
Piss off. But you do have other people where it seems like, as certainly at the beginning, where it feels like it's a little bit jovial, and when people are calling in on the phone lines, it almost sounds like there's like this Welsh guy who's doing seems like a bit of a wind up. I'm not going to attempt doing a Welsh accent. But...
You need to roll your R's.
No, you don't.
You do? Breathe it.
Yeah.
No, don't even try. But yeah, I don't know. I generally didn't know if he was being serious, like, because she said, oh, don't joke. He could be actually generally serious. Like, that could happen.
What, a sandwich would just fly across the room?
Could happen. I know you're
miles away. Yeah. Okay.
I know you don't believe it, but I do generally think that, yeah, it could have happened. Like candles can float in midair, or lights.
Oh, can they? Have you ever seen a candle float in midair?
No, I haven't personally, but I'm pretty sure.
Except in Harry Potter.
Oh, you! I can't wait until you get your first ghostly encounter, because you will absolutely shit yourself.
When's that going to be?
I don't know.
Are you planning something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because it'll crap me up. So the mum's had a bit of a trauma in herself, basically. So she's a single mum of 2, separated from her husband, and I feel like it's a bit of a...
So therein lies the sort of trauma that's from a broken family type of thing, but...
Trying to say everybody from a broken family is got a trauma. I'm sorry that your mum and dad are still together and you're so blessed.
No, I'm just... Obviously, for the sake of what this film offers, that kind of... You can put the psychology behind that, couldn't you? In a sense, that's like one first thing you jump to, really.
You can, yeah. But she has like an encounter with the glory hole. I don't know why they're calling it a glory hole through this, because I feel like that's something wrong. It's a cellar.
More a seedy thing, like when you just go into a bathroom stall, and that's where you normally find them. Not in under the stairs. The basement. Yeah,
so I don't know if it's a cellar or if it's just like a Harry Potter cupboard. I feel like it's deeper than that, to be fair. So I feel like it's going down into the basement or something. And this is where because he used to have a dark room, so like underneath the steps, if it was just like that length of this Harry Potter cupboard, it wouldn't be.
You don't really see how far that goes deep, but it feels.
If you're gonna have a dark room, it needs to be bigger than underneath the stairs.
I think it does. Yeah, sort of vaguely, you kind of see something. Like how far it goes back, but not quite like for a great length of time.
So obviously she feels like there's a presence down there. She hears a voice and she's like struggling to breathe. All of that kind of aspect. So it could have been a panic attack. You could normalise it and say, oh, she's had flashbacks of her husband and she's wanting these papers and getting herself all het up and stressed.
But I feel like someone's breathing on her neck type of thing. And
yeah. That's the bit that I always feel like it is. Like if I ever sense anything or feel a presence, I always feel like it's like behind me.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, because you're unaware completely, and then by the time you turn around, it's, there's nothing there. But was there something there? And that kind of like Sarah has that in the bathroom. Would you feel like there was a presence? Easy done. Huh?
Not in our bathroom.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in the film.
I was my sister then in our bathroom. I proper pants.
Sorry, no. Sarah Green, no. Yeah. Not Sarah Wilkinson.
It's like, has she not told me something? Like, exactly, that's exactly it. And I used to have that a lot. I've had it on the odd occasion at this house, but I don't know if that's just when I'm really tired. It sounds really strange, but like when you feel like...
Again, mind playing trick on.
I think so. Your eyes feel like they're more blurry, or you can make things like... I know throughout this film I was making shapes out of things, and it was quite funny how people were calling up saying,
seeing that in the curtain, and even they point out that Lynn's like, if you just draw on the thing, it's like, I'll kind of make out a shape there in the. It
was funny because what she was making a shape out of, I was like, no, love, that's not.
That's more like the body. It needs to be a bit further up, because you can sort of see it from that footage. But then we've rolled it back on one sequence. It was not there. It's like, odd that it was not the same. It wasn't showing the same thing because the outline wasn't there.
And then it's kind of when he's coming towards the end, where he's more present. You do kind of get like a glimpse.
That's for me. That's something like one unsettling thing, because that kind of like. Oh, did I see something? But then it's like, it's not there. And it's like, there was clearly a shape in the thing, and that's a bit like, oh.
Well, I didn't think there was like a mask kind of thing. I saw like a person in a mask, and then everything in the way they were describing him. Yeah. Because people were ringing in saying, oh, well, actually, that looks like this. And the girl, Kim, was describing him exactly how loads of people ringing in were describing him. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if the way that he looked doubts me. I don't think a ghost is... Well, I don't really know if he's a ghost or what he is, to be honest, in this. But I normally think they're represented by colour.
Right, in what sense?
So it'd be more like a silhouette than it would be like, oh, there's a person rocking up in a petticoat or like...
right.
You know, they call like Victorian clothing. You wouldn't really see a facial... You'd see facial figures, really. But it would be more, for example, like the guy that used to live in 483. The man. It was a man.
You mean that before you moved?
No, like the people that me and Sarah thought we could see.
Oh, right, yeah.
Was a man.
Right.
And he was more like, he had a top hat on, but you could see the shape of the top hat.
Yeah, because that's easy distinguishable, yeah.
But everything else about him was black. Right. You could see facial features, but it was all like done in like charcoal, let's say.
Right, so there was shades where the eyes and the nose would be, essentially the lines of it, but not like a clear as day seeing that. That's a face with he's got a mustache or a mark on his cheek or something.
Oh, red. Yeah, that's what I'm meaning. Or like,
oh yeah, you don't see rosy. Like, you don't see rosy cheeks. Yeah.
No, but like for example, she was saying all about his eye and that it'd been mauled and.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I don't really think it.
Well, I think that just gives, in this case, more of a distinguishable character feature for thing, especially as you see on the drawings. It's like, oh, you can definitely see those like blood dripping down or something like on the face and stuff. But so that's another creepy thing that just kind of make it a bit more unsettling. Is like the kids' drawings and it's like, oh, look at me, here's me, mummy, daddy, little dog or cat, and then there's this shadow that's like on the other side of the page, like looking over. Look, what's that towering thing? Oh, that's my friend.
I'd cry. I would really cry. Yeah. I don't think I've ever done that to Mum. I don't think she's never said I've come home and drawn anything like that. So that's good. Yeah. So hopefully, if neither one of us have done it, if you do have a child, you wouldn't have the same thing. But I think this has always been to the case of when I've been little, and they always said that I could speak to people if I wanted to, and I think that's when it's just become the thought that I can scares me. Mm-hmm. But I think for you, it's quite interesting, isn't it? You find this all quite intriguing. Mm-hmm. Were you actually generally scared when you watched this, or because it's your second time watching it?
No, I think this is my third time watching it. No. It's still got that vibe to it. Obviously, not from because obviously I knew going into it that it wasn't a genuine. Again, because after the fact, 30 odd years, that it's like, oh yeah, let's see how scary this is. But I still feel like it's quite impactful, especially because it's like a homegrown type of product in a sense. Like it's British broadcasting essentially. So there's that level of thing because it's sort of more relatable with the like again people sort of vaguely know from just TV personalities and stuff. And
scarier watching it this time with me, or did you not get that?
I think more when you started was with the like demonic voice thing that didn't bother me as much, but certainly still the cameraman looking in the room and then coming back, that still gets me and other stuff. And there's something more haunted about, especially this sort of distressed cat wailing as well.
God, don't put me off cats. I mean, Jesus, like I absolutely adore a cat. Like I really do. We've got Arthur, who's our pride and joy. And I've always grown up with cats, and this was like a bit of a. They tell the story of there was a man that lived there, but he didn't rent the house. He just kind of leased it and lived with. I think he was their nephew.
Mr. and Mrs. Sellers, yeah.
And
he's from a mental institution or something. He shouldn't be out in the public, in an area of that. Yeah, he done
quite a lot of casualties, and he'd hurt people. I think.
It's like molestation and stuff. So it makes sense for the whole like get off me type of thing, trying to
and
touch the girls and stuff.
Touch the girls, and then also with the way that he dies. Obviously, he kills himself and hangs himself in the cellar, and he had loads of cats, and they were locked in with him and the pet. His auntie and uncle were away for 2 weeks.
12 days, yeah.
So basically they didn't come, they came back to a rotting body, and the cats got hungry and ate him, or ate flesh and sort of him. So if that is true, and if that did actually generally happen, which makes it sound like it is because some randomer rung up who wouldn't have just make it up.
Well, I mean, if that did happen in the film, not actual...
But if it did happen in that film and in that house...
Yes.
I can imagine that there would be some trauma there, and that would still be embedded somewhere in the house. Mm-hmm. Imagine, like, I don't even know what ours is.
What do you mean?
We've got the deeds, we know who's lived here prior, it goes all the way back.
Yeah, well, there's nothing to worry about then, is there? One of the things that I don't feel like is really addressed as such, like, when they first go about, getting that sample off the carpet, like this wet ring on the floor, it's like, it doesn't really come back at all. It's kind of just.
I don't think they get round to it, bless them, because after.
But maybe that's throwing a curveball in a sense, like oh, what's this? And it's like, oh, is this the only thing that we've got going on at the moment?
Yeah.
And then it just ramps up with this, turn off to a different thing when things start getting a bit.
I don't understand why they've taken them out of the equation and like put her on telephones or whatever, and left the two girls being babysat by Sarah, the TV presenter. I'm like, why she's getting paid to look after the children for a night? I don't understand. She
just come back later anyway, though, didn't she?
Yeah, so. When everything starts kicking off, and obviously Susan has been banging the pipes, and that's when she's like, oh no, she's just doing it because she wanted everyone to believe we're true and we're not making it up.
Mm-hmm.
I did wonder if he was going to even arrive, Pipes, because it's like, well, they're not daft. If you sat waiting for him, normally they don't come.
If there had been nothing at all and been more just suggestive, would that have been as effective?
No.
For you?
I don't think I needed to see anyone,
I think
though.
like thinking of like Blair Witch Project, where you built up a lot more
Maybe
in your head, then you don't see anything. Really.
This is kind of left unstated as well at the end, as to what is it, what type of
malevolent presence.
Oh yeah, wow. That was better than what I was going to say.
God, what were you going to say?
I don't know, but he took the words out of my mouth, but they weren't the words I was going to say.
Because it makes it sound like there's some. It's like, oh, you created a séance, basically, from it all. You know,
that the thought of a séance just.
Because like everything's going on in the studio, that seems a bit OTT. Like, oh, there's a wind coming in from where exactly?
You don't know.
Parkinson's trying to rationalise it all.
Yeah. He's still sat there. He's still dedicated to the role.
Craft.
Yeah. He's not going.
Yeah.
There was like some quite funny calls that they did have from like one person saying, "Oh my husband's hurt himself on a glass table, so like it's shattered like just
out of that funny?
Nowhere." And then my children won't go to bed because they're stuck watching your TV. And I'm thinking, well, I'm sorry, you could turn the telly off. Like,
yeah.
You know, you could unplug it and then send them to bed. Also, why are they still up at this time watching it?
I mentioned about the watershed as well. That was a thing in 9 o'clock watershed. That was
9 o'clock.
I don't think that's a thing anymore, you know.
I feel like maybe 10 or 11.
Yeah, probably more like that.
Yeah, it's just later on, I think.
What I was find funny, though, is the fact that Kim's like, oh, I want to go to bed now. Like, what kid says that?
Yeah.
Like, 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'm sure.
I guess it's been a lot of excitement for her with the TV presenters and everyone being in a house. But then it's weird because she's not actually going to sleep. She's just playing with a teddy on a bed. And that freaks me out. Especially since Pipe's in the corner. Apparently, she says that's where he lives and he's behind the curtain. Don't know why, but now I'm like, I don't want to draw my curtains because it's like, who's going to be there peeking on me? But overall, I think it does kind of capture what a good kind of document. I don't know if it's
mockumentary. Well, it's mockumentary style, but it's supposed to come across as like a documentary style. Like they brought up things like I think Crime Watch and Hospital Watch. That was probably things that were like consistently like at that time, where they like go into the heart of what was going on in terms of those topics, those areas. For the public to get an understanding of what it was all about. So this was like it seeming like, this is a new take on things.
Yeah.
And obviously when they're saying it's like the first ever one, rather than just almost like a pilot of it.
Yeah.
Of like thing, and then therefore that cements it a bit more, making it like seem like it's actually happening and live and everything. But in fact, it wasn't. It was obviously pre-recorded before even the date was released.
Well, that makes me wonder though. I mean, unless they just thought they couldn't get through. For example, like if you tried to ring the number.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, actually, thinking about it. Would they have had to set up like a temporary phone line for that number that kept flashing up? And did someone have to sort of pretend, or it'd be some, I don't know, just like, make it more ghostly or something? Somebody's like, I don't know, like just crackling noise if like, the number you dialed can't be reached or something. I don't know.
It's too busy right now to get through your caller number, whatever.
Yeah.
And you just,
maybe that's the way they were getting some money through as well.
Maybe. You know what the BBC are like.
Yeah. Yeah, because they were a trusted source. I don't know if that's more still the case or not, or
I feel like
they lost the way a bit, I think.
I think they were, like, they did have Piers Morgan, didn't they? And everyone really kind of appreciated him as a news presenter who would speak the truth on behalf of the public.
News ITV, wasn't he? And Good Morning Britain.
Oh, yes, he was, yeah.
So I don't think he had any involvement with BBC.
I don't know who's on the BBC then, nowadays. I don't watch the news. I sound so ignorant, but for my sanity, I need to not watch the news because I can make anything up in my head. Mm-hmm. As you can tell, like every shape that was in this film, like then I was like, I thought I saw something. Mm-hmm. I think I've got a quite vivid imagination. I think that's what screws me over.
So overall then, do you think it was quite effective in what it had to?
Yeah, 100%. And I think I would watch it again and not be completely scared. It's
know
one of
what you
those
expect.
nice ones where it's not gory, and horrific in that sense, but it still makes you feel uneasy.
Those, for me, are the more effective horror films for me, a lot of the time. Like, I'm more about, like, sort of the supernatural stories that horror films have to offer. They affect me a lot more than just there's a killer in the woods kind of slashing
100%.
over me. This, because, like, I don't know, it doesn't really, that doesn't terrify me that much, but similarly, like you, something that you can't necessarily stop.
Yeah.
Because, like, how do you stop it? And I think it's a bit more thing. And just atmosphere is very important, and I think this does it in a way that sort of feels believable to a degree.
I think it does get a bit over the top and a bit kind of too much, but at the same time you're thinking, well, shit, you don't really know if this could happen. And I think as well, the reason why a man with an axe or something like that doesn't scare you is probably, you won't go, it's always like, oh, you're in an isolated place by yourself in the woods, and it's like, well, just don't go to the woods at night. You know, simple little things like that where you wouldn't then get into these certain situations. Whereas this is always happening in your house.
Yeah, exactly. You comfort with your four walls, and then you don't feel safe in here, and that kind of stuff is a bit more. Just
with the ramping up towards the end, then, before we kind of go into scores and such, it kind of leaves you knowing that the mum and Kim get out safely.
Yeah.
There's a cameraman being knocked out, and he gets kind of put out on a stretcher with, I believe that's the same guy.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sarah and Susan, who are still in the house. And to be fair, we don't know actually if they come out or not. Mm-hmm. What's your take on that? What do you actually think is a conclusion on it? Obviously, she is still she is alive and such and well.
Yeah, because I know that because she's on the documentary that they did for the disc that I've got. I never really thought too much about, like, did she get out or anything like that, but you just assume that, again, the house or whatever's in the house has taken them both, away and killed them off or whatever, and that's that.
And with that situation, like, if that was true, do you think they should just knock the house down? I don't know. That's what I think they should do. Like, just completely, that house should not be around anymore. It should just be. But then is that releasing pipes? But then if he wanted, he could go anywhere. Let's be honest.
Well, it's like the whole thing of, like, come back to The Shining. That you built on an Indian burial ground or any films that kind of do that. It's like if the ground is, let's say, corrupted with bad vibes or anything, then whatever you've got on there, it's not going to go away.
He wasn't buried there, was he? I'm guessing.
No, I'm not saying that, but obviously the remnants of the thing, and if you just build over that doesn't automatically fix the thing. Just new groundwork isn't going to.
No, just knock it down and never build anything on it again. Then who's he going to torment?
We just got random land, just
because, like, let's say they just not let anybody live in it anymore, then what's his problem for not just going next door?
I guess, yeah. I don't really think about it too much, really. Just the fact of the wind blowing and the cats yowling at the end in the creepy way, but yeah. I have one last thing though before. Go to scores. This has sort of happened before with a different media. Back in 1938, I think, when the radio broadcast for War of the Worlds, Orson Welles' take on War of the Worlds, like a radio play, was obviously broadcast to the public, and they believed that the world was ending essentially because again at that point, radio, that was probably the prime source of, without getting a newspaper, to entertainment and stuff and getting you information quicker across. And so especially with the war and everything that happened. Exactly, First World War and so it's interesting how I don't think, certainly by today's standards, people aren't going to be so gullible to probably without social media is well you just take everything with a pinch of salt nowadays, don't you? You do. Seeing a tweet on something doesn't automatically make it fact. No, it doesn't. So now it's time for your score. What would you rate it? So I would definitely watch it again. It wouldn't be like let's put this on every year, but it would be one that I can tolerate and can watch and not be absolutely petrified. Well, the fact that it's a 12. It's daunting for a 12. A 12, yeah.
Like, I've watched sheepier 15s, I think, that have not been that bad.
Yeah.
Got some good acting. It's got some realistic kind of... For 1992 to be like, oh, there's a floating plate or like a pillow kind of pictures and captured the way that they've done and the way that they've shown like things being blown up and the effects of it all and the lights and everything kind of moving ghostly. They do that really seamlessly. It doesn't look like it's fake.
Right.
It did scare me at the back end.
Job done.
But not to a point of where, like, I don't know why Babadook really got me. I don't know. Like, that really just made me feel very uneasy. And like the Blair Witch, maybe I was just feeling a bit scared that year. I don't know. Maybe I've become a bit hardened.
Maybe,
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Perhaps.
But I think overall, I'm going to give it a 7. I don't think I can give it
That's fair.
higher than Houseu, just because I can't. It didn't make me laugh as much. And it was kind of on my least favourite topic. But I can appreciate what it's going for and what it is delivering.
Okay. Cool. That's fine. Yeah. For me, I think I did probably online, I think looking back on Letterboxd, I did score it at 9. But
that's high.
But I think that was probably on, whether that was from just the first watch, but sort of lost its impact a little bit, obviously, on repeat viewings. I think it's more because I sort of know what's coming and it's sort of a slow burn in a sense building up to that. And it's kind of like, yeah, I want to get to when things start coming a bit more thing and more to obviously see your reaction of how you cope with it. But I think it's going to be lower than what I originally gave it. But whether it's, I think I'll put it at 8.
Okay, yeah.
I think, yeah. Think about it because there's certainly enough to engage with in terms of like a scare factor and stuff. But I think in terms of other stuff and other films that I think are more effective in what they do and how they portray sort of like spirits and stuff. This is, don't get me wrong, this still works. There's still a level of scariness to it, but I think as time goes on, it's not something that like every year I'd like, oh yeah, let's bang Ghostwatch on.
No.
Yeah, it's just one to come back to every now and again, and I think,
still watch The Shining, have we, this year?
Not yet.
Not yet. We walked this year. It's like a park's tradition now, isn't it? Okay, no, that's good then. I appreciate that you're not too far off. I feel like our scores seem to be getting more in line.
But I don't know what the final one is going to be like for you. They're very intrigued, let's say.
I'm quite apprehensive.
So, doing alright so far with... It's sort of like...
I think it's just I know...
The scare factor's gone up a little tiny bit from the previous two.
Yeah, and I feel like, how up is it going to get on this one?
The next time,
Yeah, and then that's the last one.
This year, yeah.
Yes! Nearly there.
So thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you'd like to check out some of our other episodes, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And of course, if you'd like to leave us a 5-star review, you can do so by going to any of those platforms that do the scoring system. That'd be very much appreciated.
And if you haven't already followed us on social media, then you can. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and you can follow us under the handle SP_filmviewers. Like, subscribe, follow, heart, yada yada yada. Please, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you very much once again to the Patreons for voting.
Yeah, I can't tell you off too much. You were alright. Thank you.
And those lovely people that have already got as Patreons are Jonesy, who is under the handle @WeightLossJonesy on Instagram, and his partner Emma, who is under the handle M_Hayton on Instagram.
We've also got Ben from Film Bloggers and Mark from 100 Things to Learn from Film. So go listen to both of their podcasts. They're brilliant. So definitely highly recommend. And I think they were like two of the first people like we either had on ours or we were on theirs. Yeah. So I think kind of shows this community building.
Another podcast friend we've got is Nico from the Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast.
Yeah, done an episode with them. I think that'll be soon airing.
Yeah.
So definitely go and have a look because we'll be guesting on there.
Yep. And they've guested on ours.
For the voices. So yeah, have a look for that one.
Also got our friend Gren, who is under the handle cgren_draw on Instagram.
And then we've got my mum, who voted for this film as well. So I think this is the first time her actually voting. Everyone else has gone opposite to her. This is the first time that she's actually picked a film from the Patreon pick that actually won.
And the last 2 people we've got so far are Shani, who is under the handle SDOG on Instagram, and Alex, her partner, soon to be husband and friend of ours, who is under the handle Desperately Seeking Username on Instagram. And if you would like your name shouted out and get the chance to vote for a film we watch once a month, then all you need to do is go to patreon.com/SP Film Viewers. Only costs £1 or $1.50 a month to do so.
Become a patron?
Yeah, it'd be very much appreciated if you did, and helps to support the show, of course. So that's it for another episode in spooky season.
Yes.
And one more to come, so.
And then it's Christmas.
We got November before that, but yeah. You know, there's another month it doesn't go to.
No, it just goes Christmas. Didn't you know that's what the SP hierarchy said?
No.
Were you not in on that meeting?
No, clearly not.
Well, they adjourned it and they said that's what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
See. Overruled.
Yeah.
By me.
Oh, no,
Yes.
no. No.
Yeah.
No, because the hierarchy is higher than you.
Objection.
Denied. Sit down.
I'm sat down. Alright, so thank you very much for listening to this episode once again, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.